Thanks, Birgo, for being such a wonderful chair and enlightening us with your inspiring speech. I'm super excited today to have two female leaders from the global fintech space, Theo and Efi. They are both having some amazing careers. They're authors, they're keynote speakers, they're driving and leading and shaping. And our focus today in the spirit of entrepreneurship without borders will be agents, AI, and financial inclusion. As we have learned over the last weeks and recent days, even, everyone has their own agent in the future, and it will have a huge impact not only in our economy, but also in terms of access, hyper personalization, and how we do finance in the future. So, big questions, Efi. I would love you to give us your insights, your views. You just have been in New York, coming back. First of all, what do you see where the future is going with agentic AI? What do you think of the mind-blowing release Google just did recently?
Well, agentic commerce seems to be here. It's more real, faster than we ever expected. It's not surprising that we are starting from from e-commerce to see these changes instead of other industries. I think it's similar to the internet era, and it is transformational. I am delighted to see that we are moving and we have healthy competition, because I'm worried overall that this next tech AI cycle, it shouldn't have the same concentration of power as the previous one. So I'm happy when I see more competition, whether it's from the existing big tech companies or from new startups. From New York, from the US, I bring the sort of sentiment that there are many startups that have big dreams, big visions. There is money that is funding them in this area. Anything that is around agentic AI has, the possibility of getting funded. So there's a lot going on there. What I keep on the radar is how much of this will be used to mitigate the digital divide that unfortunately is increasing through this new technological advancements. And that is where I feel that we need to deploy resources, AI resources, in helping to use AI to reduce the digital divide. And especially in finance, the digital divide is huge. We have a large part of customers and small businesses that do not have the capability to use all the tools that are out there. And I want to see more AI to be used for that purpose. I envision anything that is around using conversational AI to help vulnerable parts of the population to be able to access the services, because they don't have the capability now. They don't have the education, the know-how, or even the hardware. So let's use AI, the advancements in AI, for that. I want to see my 85-year-old mother to be able, with natural language, to use these tools. Can we get there? Can we acknowledge that there's so many languages, that accents, everything? We need to be able to use AI to bring more people in this digital economy that is going so fast paced. There's another area that I feel in financial services that AI and agentic AI will bring a huge disruption, and that is the space of wallets. We're all using wallets. I've said it, and Theo always laughs when I say, today's wallets are a bit dumb if we think of the capabilities that can be built in the future. we would like wallets to be really serving us, the individuals, discovering what's best for us, comparing, giving short lists, advice, watching our back 24/7, because up until now, all these wallets and the smart interfaces that exist, they really exist more to help merchants sell more or tech providers get more engagement, and not really each of us individually. And I'll stop there and maybe give it
Theo, yes.
over to Gail.
Yeah, a little secret about Theo, because she usually has a wonderful background, which is related to Star Wars. So Theo is very much already into science fiction. And now we see science fiction converting from the future into our reality. And Theo, you have written some recently a book, AI in Banking, which already is on top list, on top mind of a lot of people, and you have a very strong focus also on how to use technology for good, how to use finance for good. That was your other book I've been reading. So what's your view in terms of also AFI's big challenge, the digital divide, and how can we make sure we bring more people into the system?
Thank you so much for having me. Gosh, where do we start? One of the things I often like to say is that there's no financial inclusion without digital inclusion, especially when we look at the future where everything is AI enabled and digitally driven. With that being said, I do love numbers. So here's some numbers in context with respect to what Iffy is talking about, and how and who is included in the current ecosystem, and how do we include more people, or if that's even something that's doable. For example, take the African continent. According to GSMA, there are 2,650 times more. So it's 2,650 times more content available in English on the internet compared to African languages. None of the top 34 languages being used on the internet globally is African. What does that mean when we look at an AI enabled future? We're looking at all of the top AI companies using what is available in the digital economy, crawling the internet, learning from the internet, creating models based on what they see in the digital economy. Now, if none of the top languages being used in the entire continent of 1 billion people is included in that digital economy, unless you speak English, I would say that is not something that will bring us to a closer world, if in fact that is the goal, right? And so I think that in itself, and put that into a wider context, there are over 7,100 living languages, people that speak, people that write. And, you and I have exchanged notes quite often about the nuances, even within each individual language itself. So if we want to create a future where we can natively use what we say in our culture, have it documented in a way that we use it, and how it is is alive, if you will, and use that to create a better future for us, then we need to fix that gap. And that is urgent, because otherwise the gap that we have right now with the current internet is just going to get wider and wider. So anytime when I look at something like this, that is always my top concern. Now, with that being said, onto a slightly more positive side. If we look at the whole agentic AI market, is huge, and there's no doubt about that, right? If you look at, for example, PwC, they say the whole economy, when we look at agentic AI, is about $16 trillion in just a few years. Is ginormous. What that means is we have access to technology that we can create things much faster, and not just a robot. It's not a chatbot. It's actually something that can understand what you say, and something that can act on your behalf, right? So
It's
there's
making the
actions.
decisions. Yeah, that
Exactly.
I think is a big, and who controls these decisions? But we are already there. I mean, the agents are here, and I think you make a very important point. And there was also recent studies which compare the different models. So the model DeepSeek, if you use this also yourself, you put in a question about what is the situation of AI in different countries. You ask this question to ChatGPT, so OpenAI. You ask this to Mistral from France, and you ask this to DeepSeek. You get three answers which are slightly different and tainted by the country they are from. So it's very interesting to see that it's almost like they become ambassadors, which is not unusual, because ambassadors in a positive sense, or they are also manipulated by the data which feeds into them. Obviously, the Chinese scroll different data, and as you say, from a language point of view, language is culture, and language is something which connects us. I mean, if I learn another English language like English or like French, then I understand the culture better. So just using AI to translate wouldn't do the trick. So we have seen in the Google example, they're trying to give context, so which is very different. It's just not pushing the button and trying to make language also more global. But as we discussed, as you described it, language, just the different dialects and whatever, we are not yet there. But we have a lot of the tools. But the question always for us is, do we have the will of the key stakeholders? And also, Efi is very often in when we talk on LinkedIn or elsewhere, you are highlighting this fact of superpowers and how do we conquer this and how do we divide the power. It's not only big tech, yeah, so there's more to it. So how do we basically democratize? And one, we have to see that again in context. We have agents, we have stablecoin, for example, where Andreessen Horowitz, one of the guys there, wrote, could be the next WhatsApp, because WhatsApp was crossing the internet. You can all of a sudden very cheaply have messages. You don't need to take the call. So in terms of expensive cross-border, is stablecoin something different in that context? And what does it mean for more access and inclusivity?
You took us to a different point, I must say. It's an ongoing tug of war between centralization and decentralization. And decentralization, there's different degrees. We have various protocols that have been around and now are getting the spotlight, that are building layer one blockchain protocols that really cater to an economy of AI agents. So they are decentralized AI agent protocols. Will they be adopted? I don't know. It's time will tell. We are at a phase in the economy where there's a lot going on at the infrastructure level. Infrastructure for agentic AI economy, these protocols, payment infrastructure, all these stable coins, whether they are protocols or just issuing stable coins and running them on existing protocols. There's another, if you want, competing factor there. So we're in a stage in the economy where a lot is competing to change. It's early, it's unclear who will win, and a lot of it has to do with regulations. Stablecoin is the perfect example. All this booming, the activity from the Circle payment network, and Coinbase and Ripple trying to buy Circle. And just today we were reading that a couple of U.S. banks, major U.S. banks like J.P. Morgan and Bank of America, may be getting together as a consortium and issuing a stable coin when the Genius Act is actually, legalized, if you want, or approved. So this world is changing as we speak, which there's so many levels of
No,
change.
thank you, Efi. I sorry if I picked on you and thrown it at you, but I have seen so much. You were so deep into the topic. I thought we get some insights from you, and you were also co-authoring with me a book, Fast Future Blurs. And one of the chapters you did with another co-author, which I'm super excited about, it's how to become an AI native. So if we think about entrepreneurship and leadership in that sense, which is our big topic also at the World Business Angel Investment Forum. How do companies, maybe in two sentences, or leaders become real true AI native? Because we all have not been born as AI native.
I think it's an interesting question. So, just recently, I have been playing with one of Salesforce tools called the Agent Force, and in there, I created like a fictitious scenario where it's a credit union, and we want to help the credit union sign up open accounts for small business owners, right? And traditionally, this process is cumbersome. It requires a lot of paperwork. It requires a lot of interaction between the banker and the small business owner during business hours. And what we have been able to do using the agents, the AI agent that Salesforce has, is intuitively created a whole job for a virtual human, if you will. I think that's what they call them. And we described the job verbally. I was actually talking to the agent in English and trying to say, hey, this is what I think that person will need to do. This is the front end banker. And the goal is to seamlessly enable a small business owner reach out to the credit union and open a bank account. And in the long term, potentially provide access to small dollar lending. And within, I would say, maybe 2 minutes, it created a whole flow and basically checking back against its own LLM, looking at here are the documents that, when someone does approach us, here are the things we need to check, and here are the different steps. It laid out perfectly what process it will automate, what things they will need to reach out, what they need to check. It was fascinating, right? And I think what that shows us is that potentially we can also leverage these agents to help, for example, a small farmer in Guatemala and trying to understand how they can sell across borders, not just processing transactions, right? And going back to originally what we say agents can do is to actually take actions, not just reacting. It can also help them probably serve as business advisors, right? Telling them, here's the market, this is what you need to do. Here are the different compliance questions that you need to make sure that you address. And by the way, to your point, Martha, in the long term, also help them operate across languages. So one of the credit unions actually in Central and Eastern Europe, they have launched an AI lab about 2 years ago, and they created an AI tool precisely to serve that region. Now they operate across 8 different countries with different languages to help that particular market. So there are good stories we can tell.
Oh, that's a wonderful example. If we now come to a close of this panel, which we could continue, I think, not only for hours, but for days, with your wonderful experience and also the sharing of what you have recently seen in not only Salesforce, but we see in different countries how you can use it, and you have yourself also experienced this. What would be your closing recommendation for entrepreneurs in particular? How should they deal with this new world across borders? And what does it mean for them when we talk about agentic AI and in particular financial inclusion? Big question all in one,
It's
but
a big
pick.
question. There's so many new challenges that are out there that need to be solved. So, for example, in financial services, the big new challenges is about all these deep fakes are creating a huge problem in terms of know your customer, know that your business, how to onboard, you know, uh, people and agents for banking services. This is a huge area with a lot of opportunity. How will we onboard AI agents? How do we verify their identity? yes, we have the technologies, cryptographic, verifiable credentials, but how do we integrate them so they work seamlessly? So that's an area that, there's a lot of challenges, pain points, problems, and opportunities to solve. I think it's an extremely important one to focus on.
I can't agree more. I think, as we've seen time and time again, right? There are two sides of technology. We call it the duality of AI, and that's precisely that. And if there's anything I would say that technology is moving fast with or without us. But what we can control is we can control and we can choose what we do with it. It's our choice. It's our choice to use it for good, to basically provide a better future for more people, or is a choice that you keep it and further whatever personal goal that you have. So I hope we choose wisely.
It couldn't be better closing words than yours. So it's AI's a human choice. What we do it is this duality and double-edged sword, as we always say. Not only with technology, with the last year was everything about Gen AI. This year's everything about agents. So let's make sure that what we have is used wisely. Thanks a lot to the two of you, two brilliant minds and brilliant hearts, for being with me today at this wonderful Swiss World Business Angel Investment Forum Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.